any country receiving funding from USAID has an obligation to fill out reports saying this is what we are doing to reduce the fertility rates of our country. This is an act of war. And by doing this to these African countries, what are you doing? You're keeping them under their thumb. It's a new form of slavery.
Michael, Hichborn and I will be talking about the shocking revelations regarding Catholic Relief Services that Joe reported on and their conduct in Africa. And the question I really have, and I was at that press conference, is it charity to take part in the destruction of the souls of young men and women? We went to the Lepanto Institute. They revealed the truth, and I'm hoping Michael can discuss the evidence, and perhaps we can institute a call to action.
By the way, my name is Joe McClane. I host a radio program called A Catholic Take, where we look at the world through a Catholic lens. I'd love for you to hang out with us. If you like it, give it a thumbs up and let us know what you think in the comments below.
Michael, I'm so happy that you agreed to come on with us and looking forward to speaking with you here now. So good morning.
Good morning.
Michael, I'm going to just go out the gate and hit hard. And I'll tell you the thing that most disturbed me, and I'm hoping you can talk about it a little bit. The one that really hit me was taking 10-year-old and up young women or young girls to go have abortions. And Catholic Relief Services is not directly funding this, but they are indirectly. Am I right, or did I misread what you said?
Let me just explain the situation. Catholic Relief Services set up a health referral network in Cameroon through a project called KIDS. And in this referral system, one of the organizations, now there are many organizations that they chose in this network that are giving girls contraception and condoms, but one of them is called Renata, R-E-N-A-T-A, and that particular organization is a big-time abortion advocate. They have sex education programs that are designed specifically to instruct girls on abortion. That one of the assignments, and I couldn't even get into this in the press conference just because it was so, it's just so much information. But in the manual that I showed that came from Renata, where they talked about abortion, the instruction is to have them watch this video that was produced by the organization talking about how abortion is legal and how it's a good thing in Cameroon. And so they're big-time abortion advocates. They admitted in their own literature that they have assisted young girls obtain abortions. And their logo is a very pregnant woman with a big X through her belly, where the baby should be. And I mean, all the clues were there, right? It's you look at an organization, you go, I want to partner with an organization. I'm a Catholic group, and I want to partner with an organization. I'm going to pick that one that's got a big X through a pregnant woman's belly because they look like a good Christian organization for me to partner with. Come on.
So, Michael, I'm just going to play the average guy on the street who maybe thinks that I'm personally against abortion, but the church shouldn't really be out there trying to radicalize. Come on, isn't most of what Catholic Relief Services do good, and can we just get by this? And what do you say to that kind of a question?
St. John Paul II actually condemned proportionalism, which is the argument that would be made. Proportionalism is this idea that there is a proportional element to a moral response. In other words, if an organization is doing X percentage of good work and then a very small percentage of it is bad, well, you can proportionally participate with that organization simply because of the preponderance of the good work that they do. But that's a lie. You can't proportionally cooperate with an entity that seeks your destruction spiritually. That would be like saying, well, the Satanic Temple is doing all this wonderful work, and they're doing all these humanitarian works, and they're helping people, and they're doing all this poor stuff. They just happen to worship the devil. Well, big deal, right? I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way.
I think a lot of us want to, put on our blinders and keep going forward. And when that plate goes around this Sunday for the second collection for Catholic Relief Services, I want to go ahead and give my son that $20 bill and have him drop it in the basket. But I'll tell you what, Michael, this Sunday, I'm not dropping that $20 bill in the basket. And so are we calling for people to hold Catholic Relief Services accountable for what's going on?
Well, there are many things that we should be doing. One, don't give this Sunday. Two, tell your priest why you're not giving this Sunday. Three, contact your bishop and tell him why you're not participating, and ask him specifically, please take our diocese out of any support for Catholic Relief Services, because as we pointed out yesterday, one of the documents that was produced by Catholic Relief Services that has its logo on the front cover was promoting, let's say, self-abuse as a form of safe sex. And I'm sorry, but that is extremely wicked. That is the height of evil, to tell somebody to do something that is a mortal sin. To do something that is a mortal sin, and they're instructing this to kids as young as 11. I'm sorry, any organization that's going to do something like that has to have its Catholic identity withdrawn completely. But the information that we discovered and put on our report is so much worse than that. That just happens to be the most evident and self-evident and extremely direct that I can think of at the moment. But, so get our bishops to stop supporting CRS. You have to show them the evidence. You have to sit down with them. Your Excellency, this is what was found. If you can't explain how this is good in any way, shape, or form, then you have a moral obligation to stop all support for CRS. And then call upon the USCCB to conduct a full investigation and to strip CRS of its Catholic identity, or tell it you're no longer allowed to take federal funding, period.
You or one of your colleagues mentioned a way that I could send my message to the bishop when that plate goes around in church. And I think you actually said it during the press conference. Drop that note in the basket when the basket comes around during the second collection. Put the note in there. And I thought that was brilliant, because some folks don't want to confront a bishop. They're a figure of authority. We're told to submit to the authority of the church. And I'm a little uncomfortable when I write our bishop, the bishop Michael and I share. Michael, if I were going to write a letter, do you have any kind of suggestion on how I should go about doing that? Should I refer to your study, which the 200 pages?
Yes, absolutely. I would highly recommend that everybody read the report, become familiar with it. You don't want to overstate the case. You don't want to reference something that's not in the report. Get direct evidence from the report. Pick whichever piece you want, and then say, look, the report shows this, it shows this, it shows this, and then say, Your Excellency, Your Eminence, if you can't explain to me how any of this is moral or good, then please withdraw any support for CRS until they're no longer allowed to take federal funds.
Now, Michael, what if my bishop thinks that the Lepanto Institute is just a gotcha organization? They're going out to get folks, and they won't even read this report. Is there any way I can overcome that kind of resistance to the good work you all are doing?
Yeah, just print out a page or two from the report showing the direct evidence, and because we do have photos, we have photocopies of pages from CRS documents. We have photographs that we took, our researcher took while in offices in Africa, and just include those in the report. Say, look, Your Excellency, I understand you don't want to read 120 pages of this documentation. You think that the Lepanto Institute's full of it, but you can't ignore or deny the photographic evidence that they have. So, Your Excellency, here's a piece of photographic evidence that shows exactly what CRS is up to. You have an obligation before God and before man to explain this.
You guys have had other kind of reports involving CRS before, right, Michael? I think you were on.
For a long time.
For a while, yeah. It's been going on for a while, but this is probably the most kind of shocking and thorough expose of this stuff. Ridiculous.
I mean, I want to be clear. We've investigated CRS. We sent with PRI an investigator on the ground to Kenya. I guess this would have been 2014. Okay. And we have CRS complicit in a bunch of stuff there. If we actually caught CRS collaborating with PEPFAR to correct the public record where they scrubbed the information that we discovered in government documents. So it's,
I want to touch on something. Lepanto and your brother organizations that investigated this, you didn't just comb through the internet. You sent investigators into these countries to verify everything you read on the internet. You're not just
Sure.
looking through a bunch of guys looking through the internet.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, what we found on the internet, and a lot of people use that as a an argument against what we've discovered and were reported on. But what they do is they say, all you're doing is internet-based research. Well, what does that entail? We're looking at Catholic Relief Services' own website and the documents that they are putting on their own website. This isn't something that we just got third hand, or somebody in way out in the sticks on social media saying, "Oh, well, we saw that maybe this was not a good thing." No, we're using primary source documents. We got the information directly from the federal government. We have their documents talking about these projects. We have reports that CRS sent to the federal government. So we pull that information, and what that does is it gives us a lead. Now, the information that we got from those documents was damning in and of itself. That was easy. But when we also found that we could send somebody on the ground and get some more data, and we got somebody to have interviews with these people, CRS representatives, and the interviews revealed, CRS is fully aware that what they're doing is implementing a program that's designed to spread contraception. They got direct evidence from one of CRS's partners in one of these groups. And they sat down with this person, and the person said, "Oh yeah, well, CRS actually invited us in to give HIV prevention programming to a bunch of 10-year-old kids. And that programming necessarily included condoms." And he emphasized that point. It was necessary. And our investigator, we have this on audio, by the way, our investigator said, "Wait, you are telling me that Catholic Relief Services allowed you to promote condoms to 10-year-olds? And he said, "Oh, yes, very much, yes." And a third time, because our researchers were really shocked, said, "Wait, CRS was aware that you were promoting condoms?" And he said, "Yes, they supported it."
Michael, why does CRS feel compelled to do this? And I know the answer, but I'm going to have you answer the question. Why do they feel compelled to do this?
Filthy lucre. Because CRS is getting $750 million every year from the federal government to implement programs like this. That's why. That's $750 million reasons for them to be doing this.
That's billions with a B, folks, not millions, billions with a B. And that, if I remember your report correctly, is almost 3 times what they're getting for those of us in the pew. Is that correct?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. So even if we withhold our money from CRS, even if we do that, they can still run and do these programs pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
You bet. That's why we have to extricate Catholic Relief Services from federal funding. That's the only solution.
Don't be surprised if you happen to find out that your letter never even made it to the bishop's desk, because the bishop usually has plenty of handlers, and they filter what's coming to him, and they just take care of what they think he needs to take care of. Most chanceries are like that.
I'm going to tell you a little trick. So
okay, great.
The way to get around that is to double envelope your letter to the bishop. So you have an external envelope that has the address and the stamp and everything else. You put the letter inside an envelope that you slip inside that envelope that you send to the bishop. On that internal envelope, you write "For His Excellency's eyes only." And what that does, it puts a canonical seal on that letter, because it could contain canonically secret information. And the secretary, in opening that letter, sees that internal envelope that says "For His Excellency so-and-so's eyes only," and the secretary has an obligation to pass it along and not look at it.
Wow. I didn't know that was
I
at
was
least
clueless.
ostensibly binding. That's amazing.
Snail mail is more likely to get to him, and it takes a little bit longer, but only by a few days.
Yeah.
So that's, there's no sense in not doing it. There's no real sense of urgency or expediency on a letter like this, but you want to get a response. That's how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Why Africa? To me, there's a subtle hint of racism in this. Okay, maybe not so subtle, but
not so subtle. Yeah. No, I mean, we have to remember that USAID was set up specifically as a population control program. It's right there in the what do you call it? The establishing
charter?
Documents, the charter. It's right there in the charter of USAID, and it says any country receiving funding from USAID has an obligation to fill out reports saying this is what we are doing to reduce the fertility rates of our country. This is an act of war. I mean, if you were to do this to the United States would go to war with you, because what you're doing is you're trying to reduce the efficacy and the strength of the American country. And by doing this to these African countries, what are you doing? You're keeping them under their thumb. Mm-hmm. And it's the new colonialism, but it's worse than that because it's a new form of slavery.
I agree. And by the way, let me point out, Africa is probably the most Christian continent on Earth now.
Currently, even
day.
more so than South America.
Do you? And one of the insiders asked, do you think the bishops in Africa, these countries, were aware that this was going on, or did Lepanto bring this to their attention and they were unaware before? What do you think?
I think that the bishops are largely unaware of what CRS is up to. I think that, in fact, one of the bishops that spoke with our researchers said as much. He said, he can't really vouch for CRS because he doesn't know what they're doing, because they don't have any conversations with him. They don't reveal what their projects are or how they work or anything like that. They just go and do what they do, and they decide what gets funded and what doesn't. The most important thing is to force CRS to issue a response, because they like to hide in the darkness.
You want them to have to put their name on some kind of, even if it is a total, attempt at deflecting and explaining. It's better to have them have their names signed to even a lie, trying to defend themselves, than to be able to just hide completely and not say anything and just keep doing what they're doing. You want to at least have something you can point to say, here's the statement they made, and here's our evidence, and do you really want to support organization that's completely denying this clear evidence type of thing? Even that is more effective than them being able to just hide.
Michael, do you think CRS has seen this document?
Oh, I know they have. I sent it directly to them. In fact, I emailed it to Sean Callahan and all the, he's the CEO of CRS that makes $500,000 a year to help the poor. Mm-hmm. I sent it to him. I sent it to all of his staff. They have it. They have it. And I know for a fact that they have it. Evil exists, folks. It's out there, and unfortunately it has infiltrated our institutions. And it's done so under the guise of charity, when it's perverted all of the virtues. All of the virtues are now perverted. They're transformed into something that they're not. And I've written about this a number of times, but at the heart of the problem is that they have converted what is supposed to be charity into a business. And that's why I pointed out that Sean Callahan is making $500,000 a year to help the poor. When you turn the charitable works of the church into a business, well, I'm pretty sure our Lord conceived or contrived a whip and started chasing people out of his Father's house for a very similar reason.
What else as a pew-sitting Catholic can I do? I can write my bishop. I can withhold putting money in the second collection. Is there anything else I can do?
Oh, I mean, you can talk to your friends, make sure everybody knows. It's the fact of the matter is this has got to be a groundswell. You're not going to get into the mainstream news. Ask me how I know. And you're not going to be able to. I mean, I would even do something like maybe even take a trip to Baltimore and ask for a meeting with somebody at CRS. You'd like to talk to them about making, a financial statement or making some sort of donation, but you'd like to talk to somebody first, and then sit down with them with the report and say, now explain this to me.
If I remember correctly, it was the Bush administration that allowed government agencies to give money to Catholic organizations like CRS. Am I misremembering?
Yeah, they called it the faith-based initiative.
But it came with strings, right? And what are the strings?
Well, the strings are if you. I think it was one of the speakers yesterday that said, if you how does it go? Something about paying the piper. If you pay the piper, you dance to his tune.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's the same thing. You've got individuals who are taking federal funds, and that federal funding says, well, if you want our money, you're going to have to go and do what we want you to do, implement our programs, put in our infrastructure, introduce our friends to these people. And it's like the conversation that I told you about, where our researchers was talking to one of CRS's partner, and they said, oh yeah, CRS invited us in to talk to these kids, and we're talking kids as young as 10, about the use of condoms, and give them condoms and show them how they work. CRS said, yes, we support. So, if that organization got that impression from CRS, I don't think this person was lying about it. And guess what? This is the very essence of the nature of scandal. And our Lord had some pretty harsh things to say about those who cause scandal. Yeah. CRS gets the Millstone Award for sure.
There you go.
Did you like that video? It's okay. You can admit it. It's perfectly fine. Hey, we cover the big stories of our day, from inside the church to outside the church to all points in between, and we do it from a Catholic perspective. It's called A Catholic Take. It's a radio program Monday through Friday. We live stream it right here on this channel, by the way, so make sure to subscribe, like, and share. We would be very grateful to you. And don't forget, you're going to want to watch this video right here because you don't want to miss anything.